Good morning, everyone. Welcome on in. I've got a great show for y'all today. We've got a little request, another consultation request. It is for a good friend that I have been. I was hoping this day would come for years. I am extremely happy that this person finally reached out to me and wants to get in better shape. This person's been a very long friend of both mine and my fam for a long time, so I'm very, very happy. It makes my day. I failed on a PR this morning, tied my all-time best for 185 on press with 8 reps, failed on the 9th, and even that's not getting me down because I'm finally helping a long-time friend. This has been coming for... I've been hoping this had happened for years. So I'm thrilled. We got a great show for you today. So let's roll right into it. Dear Bull Muscle, sorry for just getting to this, writing it all down. Right now, I am at a weight heavier than I'd like to be. Barely eaten in the past week with being sick. I know you still weren't feeling great the last time we talked. Hopefully you're feeling better. I recommend chicken soup for that. I already talked to you about that. I think you'll be on the mend. Zinc can be very useful for this as well. Magnesium may be of use to you, and of course, vitamin C. You can get that from citrus fruits or whatever. Honestly, my diet isn't great. To be honest, that may be part of why you got sick. I don't eat a ton of food, but the food I do eat isn't necessarily the healthiest thing around. Well, we're gonna fix that. A lot of fast eating. Oh boy. I always skip breakfast during the week. That is not a bad thing, okay? The old-timey mantra of you have to eat 3 squares a day is not true. Some people go well on the warrior diet. That's 1 meal a day. Some people, myself included, tend to go with 2. A decent-sized lunch and then a big dinner. I will probably reverse this whenever I call it quits at my day job to a large late breakfast and then a smaller mid-afternoon, half lunch, half dinner. But as of right now, still right now, especially with the stock market going down towards correction, it's too lucrative for me to continue my work. And so we're not going to worry about that right now. Unfortunately, and rather annoyingly, I'm having to work on reactor systems training this week. So the question, if you were ever wondering what I do for a living, this is a little intro to that. It is a training basically that says how to work on down to the most intricate valve names, a Virginia-class nuclear submarine, how the power plant works. It's a nuclear power plant. So that's all. Public information. Well, most of it is. You can look up some of the details, but that's what I've been doing, and boy, is it a lot of studying. It's, if you want to understand why the U.S. nuclear Navy has such a good reputation, just Google Hyman Rickover. Admiral Rickover was an asshole, to be honest, but he was extremely effective at what he did, mostly because he was an asshole. Anyway, 3 squares a day is not necessary. You can do a lot of small meals a day. I think that's a pain in the ass, so I don't do it, but if it works for you, great. You can do intermittent fasting. There's all sorts of variety. So in terms of when you eat your food, doesn't matter. So if you don't like breakfast, don't eat breakfast. Only have a couple cups of coffee with sugar-free creamer in the morning. All right, I know you'd mentioned to me cutting coffee creamer already has helped weight loss, and yeah, coffee creamer is like pure fat and pure sugar, so it's terrible for you. The closer you can get to black coffee, the better. If you've got sugar-free, it's still better than full, but ultimately try to wean yourself off of that. Black coffee is better anyway. If you want, you know what? I know your birthday is coming up. If you're a big coffee fan, let me know. Drop me a line, and maybe for your birthday, I'll mail you some locally grown coffee from here in Hawaii. This is the best. This is the best place for coffee in the United States. The only places in the U.S. that really grow it is here in Puerto Rico, and we do it better than the Boricuas. Fight me, Puerto Ricans. Come fucking fight me. Hawaii no ka oi. Anyway, I love Puerto Rico, don't get me wrong, but Hawaiian coffee is fucking awesome. I'm not even a coffee person. It's really good. Lunch is more often than not Chipotle. We'll get to that. Dinner is typically an HEB. God bless. Top tier, absolute A tier state. Top 5 at absolute worst state. God bless Texas. Fucking love the Lone Star State. Taking baked meals or some kind of leftovers or takeout meals. So it doesn't sound like you cook much. We're gonna change that. With being sick for the past week, I haven't been to the gym. That's okay. Give your body some time to recover, but don't just sit around and do nothing. Go out for a walk or whatever you feel that you can do. But try to make your recovery at least somewhat active. But for the prior 2 weeks, I was going 4 times a week. It's 4 FOUR, I assume. But good. 4 times a week is solid. That's great. Where I would like to be. Ideally, within 6 months, I'd like to be around 55 pounds off. I'm not gonna go with the numbers, and in good shape. So I'm gonna stop here for a minute, and we're gonna talk about this. So 55 pounds in 6 months is extraordinarily aggressive. It's possible, but 55 pounds of pure body fat, okay? Just to give you some math here. 55 pounds of pure body fat times 3,500 calories to drop 1 pound of body fat. And yes, I'm aware if you did this, you drop some water weight, so it's not purely 55 pounds, but still. Is 192,500 calories. Divide that by 6 months. So 6 months is half a year. So 365 over 2 or 182 days. Divide that by 182 and you have a deficit of over 1,000 calories a day. 1,000 calories is a day is the absolute most I recommend. You start getting into 4-digit calorie deficits and you're just gonna feel pretty miserable and exhausted. So I would say this goal is slightly, it's possible, but slightly unrealistic. I think if you go for it, you're still gonna get close. If you go with what I recommend, you're going to be happier. It's gonna be less miserable. And you'll still probably get to your target weight, but probably more end of the year instead of 6 months from now. Still, I would say it's ambitious but possible. That's how I would describe it. I would not recommend it. I would recommend looking more around the 30 to 35 pound mark, just so that way. And I like to set it conservatively, so that way you don't feel like you're underachieving. Because if you were going for, again, 55 pounds in 6 months, that's just really aggressive. I think you can do it in 9 though. 9 months, that's very achievable. Especially if you start getting into the gym again, which it sounds like you are, which makes my heart sing. And if your diet is as bad as you say it is, which honestly, no offense, but it sounds like it's pretty crap. There's a lot of easy, low-hanging fruit to improve on. Speaking of fruit, we will dive into what you should be eating. So I would say aim for about 35 pounds. 30 to 35 pounds. I have you on 4 cut cycles. Okay, you know what? I'll get you onto that. I'm going a bit too quickly. Let me read the rest of this sentence. I would definitely like to consider the 4 days a week regimen, and if time allows, it will do more. But I want to force myself to do at least 4 as long as I'm not sick like the past week. I think 4 days a week is perfectly solid. I'm going to walk you through that. We're going to set that and the workout section aside for the second half of this video. Right now, we're going to talk about your diet, okay? So, what matters first? I've said this a lot of times, but it bears repeating. The one thing that matters most for weight loss, okay? This is weight loss. Calories in must be less than calories out. This is a law of thermodynamics. It's not a law of even biology, okay? The good news is at your current weight, you've got a large safety margin. You can, provided you're minimally active, and you want to be based on what your email reads, you will have no problems with this. So I'm going to recommend 2,000 calories a day, okay? That's for weight loss. Now we're going to talk about fat loss. Fat loss is dependent on what you're eating, okay? So weight loss is thermodynamics. That's just calories. Calories is the biggest part. Fat loss is going to depend on a couple of factors. The first, and foremost one is how much protein you're getting in your diet. If you do not get enough protein in your diet, especially if you're lifting weights, you may end up burning muscle, especially in a fairly deep calorie deficit like I'm asking you to run, instead of burning fat. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking to lose weight, but what you're saying is you're looking to lose fat. You don't want to go to the, you don't, look, I know you want to look good. You want to look, you want to feel like you're looking good with your shirt off, right? That's going to require a little bit of muscle mass. You don't want to look like a fucking string bean either. So with that in mind, I'm recommending at least 150, ideally 175 grams of protein. Yes, that is a lot. I'm aware it's a lot, but that's because you're lifting. If you decide you don't want to lift, you can lower this number down below 100. But if you're lifting, you need to provide your muscles enough protein to rebuild. The good news is, honestly, if you're hitting 175, that's probably excessive for the amount of muscle you currently have, but it's probably going to mean you see a lot faster gains in the gym. Protein's also fucking delicious. You live in Texas. You have access to cheap meat. I can't relate. Take advantage of that fact. Anyway, the other one I'm going to recommend is creatine plus creatine. Creatine monohydrate. Let me get my canister of it to explain what it is and why you should have it. Spill down a little bit. Creatine monohydrate is going to make you look better aesthetically. It's going to pull water weight from your fat cells into your muscles. It's going to make your muscles look more swole, for lack of a technical term. It is also going to slightly improve your performance in the gym. There are positive correlations to creatine and muscle growth as well. So I would recommend it. You can get it cheap from Amazon or slightly less cheap from GNC. But I would recommend creatine, just 5 grams a day. You don't need a lot. Usually most creatine packages or canisters have a little scoop in them. If not, use a teaspoon and measure. You can figure out how much of a teaspoon is 5 grams. Like, just Google it. Anyway, so that's where I'm going to start you with the diet. So 2,000 calories a day, 175 grams of protein. What we're going to do is we're going to put you on 4 cut cycles, okay? For 6 weeks a pop, okay? Then we're going to have 2-week maintenance breaks in between. I'll get to what that means. But for the first 4 cuts, okay, so the first one, you're going to start at 2,000 calories, okay? First cut is going to be, there we go. First cut is going to be 2,000 calories. Then you're going to do that for 6 weeks. That should drop you 5 to 10 pounds, probably more. Losing weight the first cut always tends to come a little bit faster, but I like to be conservative. Again, I'd like to undersell rather than oversell, as a good engineer should. You'll lose 5 to 10 pounds, and then you're going to take a maintenance break. So this is, again, assuming you're lifting. If you decide you don't want to lift, come talk to me. I'll give you different numbers to work with. But your maintenance break, I like 2 weeks because of how my body is, and it's also because I have a higher muscle mass. You could probably get away with 1 week of maintenance break and speed up the weight loss process. The reason you do a maintenance break is to allow your metabolism to adjust, and also because you start feeling like crap if you just do endless cutting. I would recommend having a maintenance break. So maintenance break, it's going to be the same amount of protein. Don't change your protein, but you're going to add about 500 calories, so 2,500 calories a day, which if you're lifting, you're probably still in a deficit there, but you're also prone to underestimating the number of calories you eat. I do it, you do it. Basically, every human being, including actual licensed and paid nutritionists, do this. So that's why I use conservative numbers. So, even if you go over 2,000 or 2,500, you're still going to be okay for the most part. Okay. So those are that's going to be your first cut for 6 weeks. In the second cut, you're going to go 2,000 again, and 2 more weeks of maintenance. That'll bring you that'll bring you to about Independence Day, 4th of July. Then the third cut, you're going to drop down to 1,900. This will be through July and August. Then the fourth cut, you're going to drop to 1,800. You're going to keep protein the same if possible. It's going to be hard to hit that macro balance. Those macro ratios, all of a sudden, you're going to be checking everything on the nutrition facts for your macro content. Okay, so it's the amount of protein versus the amount of calories. You want to find that. So things like chicken breast, fantastic. 20 grams of protein, 100 calories. Things like rice, 3 grams of protein, 160 calories, not so great. And you can have carbs and you can have fat. You can run keto if you like it. I personally don't because it's fucking expensive, especially out here where meat is not cheap. So I don't do that. But we'll get to what specifically you're going to eat in a moment. So those are going to be your cuts. I would say, again, you do this through the 4 cycles. This will put you around mid-October, which is a little bit over 6 months from now. Probably, late September if you cut to 1. But that'll put you, I would guess, somewhere around 30 to 40 pounds down from your current weight. If you go aggressive, you might see more. Music Comp, good to see you. Welcome on in. So that's where I would start. The good news is, okay, well, what do you want to cook? It sounds like you don't cook a lot right now. It sounds like you go out to eat for almost everything. So this is great on 2 factors. The first is that restaurant food is terrible in terms of macros. You said you eat at Chipotle a lot. Chipotle's better than most, but things like avocado, the tortillas, the rice, you'd be shocked at how much it adds up and adds up quickly. Best part is, if you're willing to cut the restaurants, you can go and splurge a lot more in the grocery store, because even the most expensive shit at the grocery store is way cheaper than restaurants are eating out. So I'm giving you carte blanche to spend whatever you want in the grocery store to get down on weight. That should make it extremely easy. As for diet, you mentioned dietary preferences other than mustard, ketchup, relish, and mayo. Only foods, and you don't need to eat any of those 4 things. None of those have decent macros anyway. Only foods I'm picky on are pretty much just veggies. Cabbage, lettuce, pickles, olives, squash, and onion. Caramelized is okay though. That's fine. There's so many other vegetables out there that you can work with. Carrots, mushrooms, hopefully tomatoes, any kinds of legumes, which are not vegetables, you get the point. You don't care for squash. You go bok choy if you like more Asian. Broccoli, obviously, absolutely fantastic. Kale, endive, celery, cucumber, the list goes on and on. Zucchini, if you like Italian food, one of my favorites is take a spiralizer, and I can show you what mine looks like. It's just a really basic, it's actually from, it's ancient. It's from Japan, and it's from the 1980s. I got it at the Goodwill over in Mapuna Puna for like $2. Absolutely fantastic. It's got proper English on it. It says, there we go. Helps your cooking fast, joyfully with wonderfully edged strings. You can see this is very much old-fashioned, but all it is, it's got a little blade. There's a couple attachments I've got. You take the top of this, right? You push it into half of a zucchini. You said you didn't like yellow squash, so just go with zucchini instead. And you turn it, and it turns into spiral pasta, basically. Really, really good. You can make salads out of it. You can make pasta salad out of it. You can mix it in with pasta if you want to, cut your carbs, cut your calories a bit. But 1 zucchini at 60 calories eats like a cup of pasta at 800 calories. So there's a lot of reason that you might want to try that. That's just one example. Also, I hate oysters. That's fine. Oysters are expensive anyway. And if you like other seafoods, right, shrimp is great as long as you don't cook it in butter, right? If you're going to cook it in butter or oil, but that's the other one. Those are hidden calories. You need to watch those. So I made 2 videos that are going to be useful to you recently. One was about eating on a budget. The good news for you is that if you're cutting out restaurants, that increase in what you can spend is going to allow you to be as fancy as you want. You can get really nice lean ground beef. You can get really nice chicken, lean pork, you name it. You go to the grocery store, and again, you live in Texas. Meat prices are about as cheap there. Short of the upper Midwest, they're about as cheap as they come. So that's wonderful for you. What you need to do, though, is, just look up different cuts of meat that you like, right? And decide, okay, this cut of steak, if you like steak, for instance, this cut of steak has less fat than this cut of steak. I'm gonna go with the leaner cut, just as an example. So it's more protein and less calories. Fish is another great one. Again, as long as you're not deep frying it or cooking it in just obscene amounts of butter, and you can use butter and oil, just measure out how much you use so you know how many calories it's giving you. The other one I recommend is cooking bulk meals. So you cook bulk meals, you can eat for 2 or 3 days off of it. For instance, if you like chili, that one's great, especially for your budget. I love it with beans. I know a lot of Texans consider that sacrilege, but the point of chili is for it to last and be cheap, and beans make it cheaper and lastier. Ground turkey is another great one if you like it. If you don't, that's fine. You got ground pork, ground chicken. You can throw in and make a larb if you like Thai. Another one of my famous ones that you've seen me and my bro eat a lot is Protein. This is protein powder, milk, peanut protein, and rolled oats. It's about as cheap as it comes. The macros on my normal portion, this is an extra large, is 750-ish calories and 78 grams of protein, which is great. You leave it in the fridge overnight, or you take it dry with you to work, use milk powder, add water, or keep a gallon of milk in your fridge if you've got a workplace fridge, and pour that in. When you get there, let it sit in the morning and it's perfectly ready for lunch. I love doing that. And you can experiment with what flavors you like. I like chocolate. You can get chocolate from Costco, GNC, you name it. If you want GNC, by the way, you use my phone, get pro rewards, because you've got my phone number. This one's cookies and cream. Fire. So for diet, Protein is a good one. And then I recommend you check out my Discord. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. My Discord has a thread called Holy Grail Meals, and that's a mixture of cheap, tasty, good nutrition. So it usually means the macros are pretty solid. Good nutrition, sustainable, and convenient. So if you want meals like that, it's a really good one. Another good one, if you go to wholesaler stores or restaurant stores, you might find this. This is called texturized vegetable protein. It's mostly soy, so be careful about how much you use. You don't want to go overboard on soy, but it is the rare complete vegetarian protein. And a big 25-pound bag of this is still really cheap when you measure it out per pound. I'll throw this in with chili or pasta or something with ground meat or a curry in it because it soaks up the flavor real well. It's less processed than tofu, and it's cheap protein, right? So for this, what's the macro ratio? 80 calories per serving, but let me see if I can zoom it in. 12 grams of protein per serving. So that's really good, especially for something shelf stable and vegetarian. For the most part though, since you're not vegetarian, go nuts on the meat, basically. And I'm giving you, again, carte blanche. If you can cut eating out at lunch especially, make that once, ideally once a month. If you can't do that, maybe twice a month or 3 times a month. But if you do that, it's going to make a huge difference. Absolutely massive. Because again, you can control the ingredients. Restaurants deliberately make things more palatable. What does that mean? They're going to add sugar, salt, and oil. 3 things you don't really want. If you like snacks, beef jerky is pretty good. Peanuts in limited quantity aren't bad, but be careful. There's a lot of fat there. Vegetables, obviously. If you like, fresh vegetables, just be careful if it's got, like ranch, because ranch is basically pure fat. Ranch is basically mayo in terms of macro content, so not good, but recommend that. Let's see other good meals off the top of my head. If you like cans of tuna, that's a great one as a little snack. You can dress it up with sauces or seasonings, or throw it between 2 pieces of bread and have a sandwich. If you don't like it, that's okay. There's plenty of other options. Sausage in general is not very lean. I would avoid that. Same with bacon. You can have bacon, just, try and find a cut that's slightly less fatty. Avoid pork belly. Pork belly is delicious, but it is almost entirely fat. You don't want that. And I ate plenty of pork. Pork chops, for instance, are a really good one. All right, I'm gonna put this away. I've made my point with it. We'll carry on. One other. Try not to drink your calories. We've already talked about coffee. However, there's one exception to this, and that's skim milk. Skim milk, 80 calories, 8 grams of protein. That's bang on what you want. If you have to have whole, I understand. Whole milk is still a lot better. I'll put it this way. If you're thinking about like using that as a substitute for your coffee creamer, whole milk's not bad. Just measure out how much you use. The other and most important part before we get into your workout is you can use your phone if you must. I use nutritionix.com to look up the macros of certain items. So like if I go out and I have poke or sushi, I can use that as a rough estimate, right? I try to estimate on the conservative side. It's not going to be the most accurate, but it's still better than nothing. It gives you a good general idea. But everything you eat, you write down, okay? I write down what I eat in terms of calories and protein. I write down how much I sleep, and I write down all my workouts. The reason I say write it down is because if you write it down, you tend to memorize it. And if you put it on your phone, you usually won't, at least not as quickly. When you memorize things, all of a sudden it becomes way easier to track your calories. Cottage cheese and non-fat Greek yogurt, fantastic options if you like your dairy. As far as cheeses are concerned, the harder ones tend to be better. You can do, like Parmesan is usually pretty good. Cheddar's okay. Mexican's not great. Mozzarella depends on the fat content. The fresh mozzarella is pretty fatty. The skim milk shredded mozzarella you can get in those giant bags at Costco is pretty good. So those are just some good examples of, and foods you can think about, what you like. If you like Italian, you can go that way. If you like curry, you can go that way. If you like, there's ways to do any kind of meal using the same ingredients. Beans and rice is another popular one. If you're gonna do beans and rice, maybe throw in some meat or throw in some of that TVP. That'll increase the protein content. But beans is another great example. Beans will make you feel very full, first off. They've got a lot of fiber, which means they will clean out your system, but also they have a good amount of protein, though it is incomplete. For beans to be a complete protein, you have to pair them with a grain. That can be oats, pasta, bread, or rice. So just keep that in mind with vegetarians. But you're not vegetarian again, so you don't have to worry about that. That's a pretty good overview for your diet. I do really strongly recommend, though, get yourself a notebook, start writing shit down. You'd be amazed at how much easier it makes shit to manage. It's a pain in the ass to set up, but it's worth it. So I'll give you a little run through here. So we go the 21st of March. That was yesterday. I had 2 protein bars at work. By the way, protein bars, go for them. If you like them, hell yeah, they're a great little snack. Maybe don't eat 2 a day. That's a bad habit I got to kick. I had a pint of milk, had cottage cheese, pineapple, little protein powder with the pineapple, and then I had ahi sakuraboshi. That's Hawaiian ahi tuna jerky. That's not something you're probably going to have access to, if I'm honest. That's a local delicacy that is very expensive, but I love it and I don't care. That's worth every penny. And then you write up your total. I just track calories and protein. You can track fat and carbs if you wish to. Those are the other 2 main macros. The 4th macro is alcohol. Be careful with how much you drink. I'm not saying don't drink, but when it comes to alcohol, first off, do not drink within 3 hours at least, ideally 6 hours of a workout. You do that, your liver is going to be processing alcohol, and as a result, cannot process protein to help rebuild your muscle, which means you've wasted your time in the gym. So do not drink after lifting. I think I've already told you that, but just to make sure. but alcohol has a lot of calories in it, particularly beer. I like non-alcoholic beer as an occasional treat, but that's as far as I go. I gave up drinking last year and strongly recommend it if you really want to get in shape and you want to do it fast. Again, you can still have the occasional beer, but just track how many you have. Because if one beer becomes 6, now you've talked about, you've drank almost 1,000 calories or more in some cases, depending on the type of beers. If you like a good Shiner Bock, for instance, or you like, a dark beer or a stout, you drink 6 of those, you've drank 1,000 calories or perhaps more. So you got to be very careful. So that's about everything for food. Again, go nuts in the grocery store with what you want. The takeaway meals, just check the back for macro content, or if there's not on there, if it doesn't list the nutrition facts, which it should, check Nutritionix or just Google it. You may find that HEB has a list online, and you may be surprised at what you find. You may find that some things that taste really nice have terrible macros, and some things that taste really nice have great macros. You don't know, depends on what you got. So that one is pretty solid. Now let's get into the lifting section. So that's pretty good for your diet. Lifting weights, okay. 4 sessions a week, I think, that's a great starting point. You're relatively new to the gym. You've been a couple times, but you've got previous injuries. So we're going to talk about that. I know you're aware I was a catcher in baseball. Hell yeah. So your left has always been an issue just from lack of working out. Strength is going to be needed in both knees. So far, big shout out to the high resistance on the stationary bike. Yes. First off, cycling is fantastic. Cycling is a money printing youth machine. And the stationary bike, while good, it's bested by the real life bike. That's why I have this going on here. And it's why my ass looks really good. Not to try, no homo, but like I get compliments from girls on it as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you are going to break this down. Let me go ahead and erase the whiteboard. Just go ahead and take a screenshot if you need it. Okay, so I'm going to run you through a basic upper-lower program. Since you have 4 days, it makes the most sense to split it into an upper and lower split, okay? So we're going to do a basic upper day, a basic lower day. One's going to be lightweight, one's going to be heavyweight. You can decide how you want to do it. You can alternate. You can go heavy, heavy, light, light. You can go light, heavy, light, heavy. Totally up to you. We're going to talk about what that means. Simply put, your light days, you need to be working around the 15 rep range. 12 if you're really going hard and you fail, that's okay. 20 if it's, a little bit more of like a cable exercise meant for time under tension or hypertrophy. And then heavy is meant for more explosiveness, sets of 5 to 10. And I know you said you had injuries. We'll get into what you're going to do there. But you're going to go upper, lower, light, heavy. So you're going to have upper day, all right? Your upper day is going to consist of 3 sets of the following exercises. Hang on, I'm missing something. Chest, bicep, tricep, deltoid, trap. Okay, so it's going to be 24 total sets, 3 sets on each for your upper, okay? So what's that going to look like? Well, it's going to involve 1 set on your chest. You know what? For this, Again, we're gonna go shirtless. It's gonna make a lot more sense if I can actually show you the muscles, especially when we get to the backside. All right, so first set, gonna be chest, all right? This is gonna be your pectoral muscles, your pectoralis major. They're gonna be, your lower pecs, your mid pecs, your upper pecs. So that's gonna be, you can choose, you should vary it, but you can choose how you wanna do this. You can do dumbbell bench, you can do barbell bench, which I recommend. You can do barbell incline, which I recommend. Those are probably your two big ones. You can do dumbbell incline. Decline's okay, you can try it if you want. It's not bad. Chest flies or the pec deck, where you've got the machine where you start out here, you keep your elbows straight, you go like this, and you can go lower, you can go higher. You can do it with cables, you can do it with the pec deck machine, you can do it with dumbbells. Those are flies. So that's a general idea of what you want to do with your chest. I have a chest tier ranked video, you should go check that out. That's a pretty good start. Biceps. So biceps, really, your biceps can only, they're one part of a two muscle hinge group, right? So your biceps really only are allowed to contract and expand. Your elbow is a hinge. Doesn't really do a whole lot more than that. So what you're gonna do for biceps is 3 sets of curls. Vary the type of curls you do. So what does that mean? Standing barbell curls. Great, as long as you don't fucking do it in the squat rack. If you do that, I'm gonna come down to Texas and punch you, all right? Barbell curls are great. Preacher curls, where you've got a preacher, let's see, you're sitting, you've got a preacher arrangement like this. Preacher curls, fantastic. Really good for extending the range of motion. I will say in general, I recommend if you're gonna do that, I recommend your preacher curls, your incline curls, which is the same idea as a preacher curl, it's just, you're going like this, right? I recommend doing those on your lighter work days, standard barbell curls, maybe reverse curls, so that's gonna work your brachioradialis as well, or hammer curls. So hammer curls is like this with dumbbells. Reverse curls is with a curling bar or with a straight bar, you go like this with a pronated grip instead of a supinated grip. So pronated means hands forward or hands palms facing away from you. Supinated means palms facing towards you. Another good one is chin-ups. Chins are a fantastic one. Even if it's assisted, chins can be incredibly useful. So don't skimp on chins just because you can't do them unassisted, okay? Those are all really good choices for upper. I would say chins, standard barbell curls, and reverse barbell curls. Maybe go make those 3 the ones you tend to gravitate to, and hammer curls, make those 4 the ones you tend to gravitate to on a heavier day. Individual dumbbell curls, incline curls, or preacher curls, make those more what you do on the light day for 10 to 20 reps. Okay, so those are your biceps. Triceps. Okay, so a tricep is your muscles right here. Okay, triceps work in tandem with your biceps. So your biceps work for pulling, your triceps work for pushing. So triceps, you can do cable. For the cable stuff, I recommend the cable stuff tend to be on your lighter days. The cable is really good for time under tension because it gives you, when you're working with a cable, it's going to give you uniform resistance. The dumbbell or a barbell, it's based on gravity and what angle you're moving it at. So it does make a difference. So for your light days on triceps, I recommend you can do reverse extensions. You can do triceps push downs. You can do triceps overhead extensions, right? Those are really good exercises. Your heavy days on barbell, you can do, I really like the exercises for heavy tricep work. I really like, dips are fantastic. You can do them, dips you can do for either one. For your heavier days on triceps, I'm a huge fan of laying down triceps exercises. What's that gonna look like? Well, it's gonna be a close bench. So bench press, but with a close grip, you keep your elbows tucked in. It's gonna be the skull crusher. That's just moving your elbows like this. You can also learn to do the JM press, which is kind of a hybrid. I would say wait on the JM press until you get really comfortable with the close grip bench and the dip and the skull crusher. JM presses are slightly more advanced. Maybe wait on those until you've gone for a few months. So there's your triceps. All right. What else do we got? Front delts. God, they're sore as fuck today because that's what I hit hardest. The front delt machine, that's your shoulders. Very simple. The best option is the barbell shoulder press. Or if you keep your feet together and straight, military press. It's the same fucking thing. Other variations of this include behind the neck press and the Klokov press, which is behind the neck press at a very wide snatch grip. Now I know you mentioned, okay, left has always been an issue. My left shoulder is hot garbage. It likes to creak and pop and generally feels like it's about to go out of socket when I'm doing any shoulder workouts. Specifically the shoulder down, pull down machine and pull-ups. First off, pull-ups are not shoulder oriented. They are a lat oriented exercise. When you're doing pull-ups, you need to be focusing on the lat, but we'll get to that. As for shoulder press, so this is one where you're going to need to work on different variations of shoulder exercises and feel out which shoulder exercises make your shoulder hurt the most. Now, if it hurts on all of them, what I'm going to give you permission to do is even on your heavy days for your delts, so that's going to be presses. Now, a couple examples, right? For your delts, I'm going to give you permission to do light work on your delts as well. So you can just make your delts light muscles each day. That's okay, all right? So deltoids, you can do barbell shoulder press, behind the neck press, Klokov press. Those are really good for a barbell. For a dumbbell, you can do dumbbell shoulder press. I recommend trying both seated and standing. You may find that you like one more than the other. Same for barbell, if you have the equipment on your machine. I'm not a huge fan of using the Smith machine because it limits the range of motion. It can be useful, but on the other hand, with barbells and especially dumbbells, it forces you to balance the weights and get more used to moving the weights in a three-dimensional space, right? You can move them forward, back, up, down, left, right, as opposed to a Smith machine where it's on a fixed track. So if you have no other options, use a Smith machine. Otherwise, much stronger fan of barbells and dumbbells. You can also try shoulder presses with a cable. I'm not a huge fan of the cable personally. Same with machines. I think they are inferior in general to barbells and dumbbells. That's your preference. Again, now the other one I'm going to want to recommend to you is I made a couple videos a few months back, I think at this point, of tier ranking push, pull, and leg exercises. And I know you're doing upper and lower, but you can still go and sift through those to figure out what I think of various different exercises. I'm not going to go through each one individually because this video is long enough and that's not going to be useful to you. Okay, so that's front delt. Traps. Traps are really simple. Shrug. That's the biggest one. Oh, one other front delt exercise I'm a fan of that also kind of works your traps. So you can count this as one or the other. Is the upright row. That's where you may find this one doesn't feel great on your shoulder, but it might, who knows. You have a barbell or dumbbells and you come up like this. Make sure to squeeze your traps at the top. So shrugs, real simple. Shrugs should be kind of easy. That one's pretty simple for traps. Now with traps, you can do barbell shrugs, dumbbell shrugs, behind the butt barbell shrugs, incline shrugs where you're on an incline. Fuck. I rolled over my toe. That didn't feel good. You're on an incline and you're shrugging like this. There's a lot of different variations, but in general, 3 sets of shrugs. Rear delt. Okay, so if your front delts, there are three portions of your deltoid muscles. Oh, one other thing for front delts. Recommend this on your light days. Shoulder raises, either side or out in front. Or if you're really feeling badass, you can rotate them. I did that today, and I'm feeling that immediately, even with no weight. Shoulder raises like that, though, recommend that be a light day exercise, no more than, no less than 10 reps. Should be ideally more like 15. So, 3 parts of your deltoid muscle. Front delt, right here, right here. The top side of your delt is the outside of your shoulder. You can actually see them like this, okay? So if I go front, top, and then rear. Your rear delts are going to be a little bit more difficult to work. So how do you do them? You can, the same pec deck machine you use at the gym for your chest flies, if you set if you set yourself facing the machine instead of facing away from the machine, and you start the pec deck back this way, you can work your rear delts. That's a really good exercise. Recommend that at lower weight. Higher weight, this is the rare cable exercise I recommend you can do at higher weight. It's the face pull. The face pull, you take either ropes or some whatever cable attachment you have, really, and you bring it towards your face, right? So face pulls. It's going to work your rear delts. One final rear delt exercise I'm a big fan of, and the reason I'm stressing rear delts is because a lot of people forget to work them, and they're a hard muscle to work. And Arnold Schwarzenegger swears by this one, so take that for what you will, is the lying down dumbbell raise. So remember those shoulder raises I was talking to you about? Same thing, but you're lying on your side. That's going to pull and really get a great range of motion for your rear delts. Okay, the final thing, and you're going to do this on every workout regardless, is 3 sets of abs. Heavy day, you go 8 to 10 reps. Light day, you go 15 to 20. All right, abs can be cable crunches, huge fan of those. Incline sit-ups, leg raises. So if you got a Roman chair, you know, you're raising your legs like, you just imagine with both of them. I can't do it because I don't have a Roman chair here. Crunch machines can be good, can be bad, really depends on the machine. Ab wheel, not a bad option. Really any kind of ab work to where you're getting close to failure at those rep ranges. All right. Whew. So that's your upper day. All right, now you're gonna do lower day. Three sets again, same way. It's not going to be as many sets, but the sets you're doing will probably be harder and may require more work. We'll stay away from the Oli stuff. I'm not going to tell you to do any power cleans or stuff like that yet. They're great exercises, but you're going to want more experience with the basics first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing, 8 to 15. But this is only going to be 21 sets. Okay. The first is 3 sets on the squat, okay? I get it that your knee hurts. So if you find that your knee is really protesting, first off, there's generic soreness, like muscle soreness, you'll feel it in your muscles, and joint soreness, you'll feel that in your joint. You will know the difference after you keep doing this for a while. If you get sore in the knees, that doesn't mean you stop, but it means you go lightweight. So again, you just like your delts, I'm giving you permission to work lighter days here if on heavy days it really gets hard. But even if you have to do it with just the bar, you gotta squat, man. It is the most important exercise in the gym. So squats, you can do high bar. So the bar is kind of on your traps. You come down at least to parallel, that's crease of the hips at the top of the kneecaps. I would recommend not going what's called ass to grass. It's all the way down here. Let's see if I can back up enough. Ass to grass all the way down here. You can already see my back rounding, but even if I try to keep it straight, you get something called butt wink, and it's also really hard on your knees. A couple things you can do to help your knees. You can place plates beneath your heels, just little 5-pound plates, and that will elevate your heels enough to where you can come a little bit more like this. That will also help your lower back a little bit. With squats, keep your abs tight when you're squatting. Makes a huge, huge, huge difference. Because if you keep your abs tight, it'll keep your lower back tight, and that's going to prevent any injuries there. You want that. You want to do it safely. Squats, if you want great abs, do squats. I know it sounds weird, but it works. So heavier and lighter days, right, ideally. You can do a low bar squat. So low bar squat, instead of having it up here, you make a shelf with you lean a little bit forward, you make a shelf with your rear delts, and you place it on that shelf. What that's going to do is shift the center of gravity of the weight a little bit further back. So that's going to allow you to push more through your glutes and your posterior chain. Okay, so three sets of any kind of variation of squats. Other variations you can do. You can try the front squat. I will say if your knees tend to be what hurts, the front squat may not be for you, but give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it. You can do the goblet squat. That's with a dumbbell. You can do, you can do it paused. You can do it. I don't recommend partials for you yet, but you can do it with a pause at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 1, something like that. Okay. What other variations of squats? The sissy squat, much like the front squat, that will be pretty hard on your knees, especially if you were a catcher. So I'm going to say probably don't do the sissy squat. Leg press. You can alternate between squat and leg press, but don't make it leg press every time. At least once a week you should be squatting. If you want to go leg press, that's fine. You can replace squat with leg press once a week, okay? But you have to learn to squat. It is the most important exercise in the gym. A proper squat, if done correctly, is a whole body workout. It works everything below your neck. Abs, back, obviously your posterior chain, everything below your hips, it works. Really, really hits your core great. Even your traps and your delts, if it's a low bar squat, huge difference. So there's your squats. Now, 3 sets of deadlift. The deadlift is the simplest exercise in the gym. You have weight. You pick up the weight. You can do this with barbell, which I recommend. You can do it with dumbbell if barbells are not available, like the gym's crowded. You can do it with a Smith machine. Again, I really don't recommend it because that's not going to allow you to experience the full range of motion. The keys of the deadlift are the hip hinge motion, okay? So that's thrusting your hips. There's no way of doing that without it looking vaguely sexual. It's a deadlift, fucking deal with it. You can go opposite grip. You can do double overhand grip. If your grip strength is failing before your legs are and you're doing double overhand grip, try an opposite grip. You can do conventional deadlifts. So that's, right, you're down here, you pull up. So the motion of the deadlift here is real simple. You start with the weight, the bar, right over about the middle of your foot. You want the bar to travel straight up. So you unbend your knees first, and then you pull out with your hips at the top. You're gonna feel it a lot in your glutes and your hamstring, and that is what you're looking for, okay? Other variations of the deadlift. The Romanian deadlift. Same thing, but instead of working concentric, what's coming up? You're gonna hold really, really slow on the eccentric. If you find that your knees are hurting on a conventional deadlift, try the Romanian deadlift. Other variations of deadlift. I adore the Jefferson deadlift. I would say it's a little bit more advanced, and I wouldn't recommend it until you get more comfortable with conventionals, but you straddle in sort of an L-shaped pattern like this, the bar. So the bar is passing between my legs. You go underhand on the back leg, overhand on the front leg, and you deadlift like that. You can also do a sumo deadlift. I'm not a fan, but a lot of people are. That's just a conventional deadlift with a wide stance, okay? You can try the good morning. The good morning, you're positioned like a squat where it's up here, but it works the hamstrings and the glutes almost like a deadlift. So the good morning, you keep your knees almost completely straight. You come down with the hips, and you come back up. You should feel a huge stretch in your hamstrings, just like you should for Romanian deadlift. Other deadlift variations, you can do the block deadlift, which is you put the weights of the barbell on blocks, which decreases your range of motion, so you might be starting like here and focusing on the hip hinge. I don't really like the block deadlift. I prefer the deficit deadlift, where you are standing on a platform, and it forces you to go a lot lower to start. That one I think is very good because it increases the range of motion, and because it increases the range of motion, when you go back to do a conventional deadlift, it should feel easier. Those are a lot of deadlifts. Calves, 3 sets of calves. Your calves are actually really good, so you do you on that one. 3 sets of leg extensions. Leg extensions can be, usually they're seated, sometimes they're laying down, but not usually. 3 sets of leg curls, same thing, they can either be prone or seated. 3 sets of some sort of lunge. So it doesn't have to be, and again, I know with your knees, if you find your knees hurt on these, do them at lightweight, even do them with body weight. if you have to. But basic lunging is something you should be able to do. That's a basic body mechanic that you need to work through. Now, variations of lunges. You can do the split squat, which is you're in a lunge stance, which you just work one leg at a time and then you alternate. You can do reverse lunges. You can do just regular lunges. You can do deficit split squats. So if you're standing on a platform on each foot, you go way deeper. Those are really good. You can do them with barbell. You can do it with dumbbells. You can do them, you can't really do it with, you can do it with, that one, when it comes to split squats, that one Smith machine's totally okay on. And then 3 sets of abs. That's more or less it. So I know that's a lot. You're probably gonna have to watch through that video a couple of times to get it all. It becomes very easy once you do it for a couple weeks, especially if you write it down. The reason I say to write it down is because, and I'll show you what I did today as an example. You want to write down, okay? Come in here. Let's take a look right here. So this is SP, that's shoulder press. If it'll focus in, there we go. 5 by 8, 6, 12, 7, and 10 at 185, 185, 165. I ran out of space, so I used an arrow. And then behind the neck, 155 and 145. Right? What this allows you to do is I can go back and compare that. So I did 5 by 8 on 185, go back to my previous shoulder press day. Well, I only got 6 on 185. That's pretty good. That's an improvement. You can also, if I like circling or putting a square around the sets that are PRs. So when I did squat the other day, as an example, here you go. If it'll focus. Come on. It's deciding not. There we go. So I put a square around 445 because that was a new 1 rep max. So you usually do the number of sets with an X. I do the number of sets with an X, then the number of reps per set, and then an @ symbol and the weight that set was performed at. If it's body weight, you put BW. If it's a dumbbell exercise, you can put DB at the end of it. If it's a cable, you can put CB at the end of it. I usually don't do barbell. If I don't put a weight there, it's usually, if I don't put a symbol there at the end, it's usually means barbell. If it's a machine, sometimes I'll put MACH, something like that. Really, really recommend writing it down though. I know this is a lot to take in. Do not get discouraged. And I really recommend joining my Discord community for this reason. We have people in there that have been on their own weight loss journey and on their own fitness journeys. We share our PRs, we share our failures, and because of that, we encourage each other. It is so nice to be able to tap into a community full of people willing to inspire you, willing to cheer you on, and on occasion, willing to kick your ass a little bit to push you a little bit harder. You would be amazed. The gains are made at the margins when you're really close to failure. It's called progressive overload. That's the whole point behind weightlifting. You want to progressively either add weight or add reps until you reach close to failure. That's going to be one other question. I've talked about this in general, how hard should you lift? You shouldn't go for failure every single time, but at least 1 or 2 workouts or sets per workout, you can pick the exercise and vary it. You should go till failure. Failure means you have nothing left in the tank. And that, may mean you're sitting here at the bottom of a bench, push. There are other fancier things you can do, like drop sets. You talk about psyching up. That should wait until you get more accustomed to the gym. I can give you more advanced routines, but if you follow this, you are going to see incredible progress over the first 6 months. And the reason, by the way, I'm staying real conservative with the weight loss is because if you do this, you're gonna be putting on some muscle. And by putting on some muscle, on one hand, while you are going to burn a lot more calories per day because muscle requires calories to maintain, it's like investing. It provides a dividend in a sense. While muscle provides more calories to maintain, it is also denser, which means your weight will go up. But this is the other trick of the trade. This is what progress pictures, which I recommend. I talked about this in a previous channel with someone who was maybe a little bit nervous about the scale. It doesn't sound like you are, so I recommend using the scale. Weigh in at the same time every day, by the way, if you're not. But you can use measuring tape to see, okay, you know, go around the chest, see, okay, that's, you know, for instance, my chest, around the chest today, about 42 inches, as an example. Then you do, you know, biceps, so on, and then you write it down, and then you check a week, a month later, you see how you've come. Do the same thing, take some pictures of yourself. It will help your brain, because your brain likes to play tricks on you. Your brain likes to say, oh, I'm not making any progress, just feed me more fat and sugar, everything's gonna be okay. That part of your brain, you have to learn to tell it to fuck off, okay? That, whew, okay, a lot covered in 1 hour, but that's just about everything. I think that's all I've got for you right now. That's a pretty comprehensive example of what to do. If you've got follow-up questions, let me know. Again, I can't recommend the Discord highly enough. We've got great meals. We've got the Holy Grails tier meal list in there. We've got workout examples. We've got links to really helpful things to give you more context if you want to learn, dig deeper. And we've got a very supportive community in there. So I really recommend it highly. If you decide you don't like it, hey, that's your business. That's fine. Short of that though, a little word of motivation. I know you can do this. I saw, you know, before you got sick, you were busting ass in the gym. The sky's the limit with you, man. I think, especially because you've got previous athletic memory, while you weren't building muscle in the weightlifting sense from doing that, because you were a catcher in baseball, some of those movements are going to come more naturally to you than they otherwise might. If you're looking for additional resources, again, let me know. But that should just about do it. I don't see any. Let me make sure there wasn't anything else I needed to say here. And then for your diet, I already covered that in the first half of the video. 2,000 calories, 150 to 175 grams of protein, 150 at the absolute minimum, 175 a little bit if you want to really go for the gold. If you are still sick, just do 2,000 because you're not going to be moving as much, and don't worry about the protein. That is about it for this one. So I hope this was really useful for you. I am so thrilled, so excited to see where you progress with this, and I wish you nothing but the best of success. I cannot wait to hear the progress. I cannot wait to hear about the failures. I cannot wait to hear about how you overcame the failures. That is what builds a stronger body. That's what makes you more strong, in a sense, and stronger. So if you like this and you want your own consultation, be it about diet, be it about exercise, be it about personal finance, be it about dating, be it about philosophy, be it about life optimization, come talk to me. Write in at askbullmuscle@gmail.com, because face it, ladies and gentlemen, how many nuclear engineer runway models with a six-pack that could retire tomorrow if they wanted to? Do you fucking know? The answer is one, and it's yours truly. That is it for this video. Y'all have a good day. I think I'm gonna do a Pokemon stream tomorrow. I'm waiting another consultation, but it hasn't come in yet. It probably won't until next week. I will probably be hanging out in my Discord for a little VC action. I may go for another stream today. We'll see. Depends on what's going on. Otherwise, as always, y'all, make good decisions. Those good decisions form your actions. Those actions form your habits. Those habits form your values. Those values form an ethos, can be the guide star through the rough waters of life. But it starts with those decisions, and I'm so glad you're making the right one to get in better shape. Much love, y'all. Come in for the hug. Shoots.